Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
We're counting down what America's talking about. The Talk Radio Countdown Show continues.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
Now 23 after the hour. This is the overview of what's going on News Talk Radio for this week. From Jay Kirshner and Doug Steffen. Jennifer is off, and so we decided we'd tackle this on our own, Jay. And so in order to do that and do it with credibility, we have lots of input from you on social media. Facebook and Instagram, it's at Good Day Radio Show. And Twitter, it's Good Day On Air. Plus, you can always access us by dialing 855-999-3684. That's 855-999-DOUG. With comments, calls are coming in all the time. Some of them are good enough to put on the air, and some of them aren't. That's the bottom line. All right, so let's talk about what some of our listeners are saying on our social media about some of these issues. The Trump indictment seems to be number one with the listeners. You want to go through some of the responses?
Ooh, yes, some hefty ones. Sam Wells says a rising fury is brewing and building up pressure among Americans who care about the tyrannical direction our government is taking.
Why'd you chuckle there?
Because I always pronounce tyrannical wrong when I'm reading it.
But you were right.
I know, because I had to stop myself.
Oh.
That in the state of Oregon. If I am reading it, 9 times out of 10, I say Oregon. It's just one of those things that I know the word, but if it's in front of me, I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
Okay, well, we close your eyes.
We digress. Garland's really stupid, as to risk a full-on civil war in this country. It is high time the U.S., FBI, DOJ return to equal justice under the law instead of acting as the, I don't know what this word even is, Fedgoon? Hitman? Fedgoon? For the Democratic Party.
I think that's a made-up word, frankly.
Anyway. Okay. Against its political adversaries.
Yes, right. Yep.
Not wrong there.
Go ahead. I was thinking yesterday I got a haircut. My barber is an immigrant from Vietnam. So he and his family run this barber shop for a number of years. And he always, when I walk in, he always has Newsmax on the TV in the barber shop. So I'm thinking to myself, how interesting is this? A Vietnamese national who becomes an American citizen, starts a business, and thinks that Newsmax is the best of all the channels to watch. And we talk about stuff, barbers love to yak and gossip, and I usually half the time nod off in the chair. But we were talking yesterday about Trump and what's happened and how the Democrats are ruining the country. And it just sounded funny coming from somebody who's an immigrant. I am used to listening to it, with fellow these guys in American, but
stereotype.
Native.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, exactly. So anyway, what else have we got for Trump?
Michael Krivich says, I take no joy in the fact that a former president of the United States has been indicted under the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice. I also know that those on Truth Social who are calling for an armed attack on the American people are not patriots. They are extremists, terrorists, and cult members.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this goes along with the question we previously asked, what does being a patriot mean to you? And to continue what Michael is saying, a patriot believes in the rule of law and that no one is above the law. Trump will face a jury of his peers, and in only that place will guilt or innocence be decided. It is a sad day for Americans, but a great day for the Constitution and the rule of law.
I get a kick out of looking at some of the coverage on these, because CNN and Tucker Carlson are part of the stories this week. The latest from Fox is them trying to, with the indictment, trying to make it look like that it's all Biden's fault. It has nothing to do with Trump and what he's done. It's just all Biden's fault. And I know that's going to carry the day. That rhetoric will carry the day with many people. All right, so we got quickly, let's do the couple of presidential election thoughts
Yeah,
here.
how it's stacking up. Mel says, grab the popcorn. The circus is about to start. Don Berg says, I think Trump will win the Republican nomination. Uncertain for the Democrats. And Lynn says, I'm waiting to see what Kennedy has to say.
Yep, that's it. Me too, frankly. All right, there it is. Some more social media thoughts here as we continue on the Talk Radio Roundup.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
Do you need to get your hands on some extra money right now? Maybe $25,000 or more? If you're a homeowner, now is the perfect time to get cash out while homes in many neighborhoods like yours have gone up in value. You can use the money for anything. It's yours. You can buy an investment property, pay off higher interest debt, or make home improvements. If you need $25,000, $50,000 or more, now is the time. Home values are up, and so is your equity. We offer you a way to use it. No need to use your savings. Call New American Funding now and see how much cash out you can get. Call 800-721-2477. 800-721-2477. 800-721-2477. That's 800-721-2477. NMLS 6606. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. This is not an offer or commitment to lend. Subject to borrower and property qualifications. Not all borrowers will qualify. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing opportunity.
It's all too obvious. We're being let down by the institutions we used to trust. American families are talking about a future of food shortages, banks failing, society breaking down, and what seems like the setup for the apocalypse. But instead of throwing up their hands, folks are leaning into self-reliance, investing in emergency food storage now more than ever. And My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, has made it easier than ever for you to have peace of mind knowing you're prepared. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and stock up on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. You get tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save $200 plus get free shipping on 3-month emergency food kits at MyPatriotSupply.com. It's time to prepare for what we all know is coming. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com now. MyPatriotSupply.com.
From the Cabinet Doors and More studio, this is WOMI Owensboro.
This is the Kentucky News Network.
He was key in bringing back minor league baseball to Louisville more than 40 years ago. Dan Ulmer has died at the age of 90. The city had been without baseball for a decade when the Springfield Redbirds moved to Louisville in 1982. UK versus LSU Saturday afternoon in the Super Regional of the NCAA tournament. And playing LSU in a best-of-3 series starts at 3 o'clock. You can see that baseball game on ESPN. Transylvania University women's basketball team heading to the White House among the teams at the College Athlete Day celebration this coming Monday. The Kentucky Humane Society trying to find homes for adult dogs. KHS this weekend waiving adoption fees for all dogs weighing 40 pounds or more. 2 Louisville locations taking part, one on Linden Lane and one on Steedley Drive. I'm Matt Reese.
This is the Kentucky News Network.
This is Kentucky, where the only thing ordinary is the unexpected.
I got everything you need.
Horse country, legendary distilleries, rivers to paddle, lakes to splash and relax, big city vibes and small town charms. This is Kentucky. Come see for yourself. Plan your road trip at KentuckyTourism.com.
I got everything you need.
There's only one thing better than being a kid. Being a healthy kid. So give them the best shot at it. With no-cost health insurance from K-Chip. Now available through Connect. Nothing could be simpler. All you need to do is visit connect.ky.gov/K-Chip and see what benefits you and your kids qualify for. Every kid should have health insurance. And now, every kid can.
Fox News, I'm Samantha Liebman. Special Counsel Jack Smith addressing claims of political bias following the federal indictment of former President Trump.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, That's what determines the outcome of an investigation. Nothing more and nothing less.
Meanwhile, President Biden in North Carolina Friday praising his investments in infrastructure.
We've invested more money in roads, bridges, internet, and clean water, et cetera. The largest investment in infrastructure since Dwight Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
The president promoting nearly $5 billion in projects in North Carolina alone. He was at Rocky Mount Community College. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Cabinet Doors and More studio, this is WOMI Owensboro.
Welcome to the Talk Radio Countdown Show with Doug Steffen, counting down what America's talking about.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
All right, 34 after the hour, it's the Talk Radio Review, a roundup of thoughts from you on our social media at Good Day Radio Show and Good Day On Air. Jay Kirshner and I, Doug Steffen, are here without Jennifer this week. The color is always a fabulous, there's a fabulous one-sidedness to Jennifer's point of view, which I embrace because I embrace her, what a great broadcaster she is.
And she is so well-spoken.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, she has good arguments for the way she thinks it through and has great arguments. She always has the info. She always has the ammo when it comes to discussing Trump and or the Republicans. I wish she were here because I wanted to get her to talk about that Supreme Court ruling that will effectively in Louisiana and Alabama redraw congressional districts because the Supreme Court, with the inclusion of two members of the Republican Party who are members of the Supreme Court, have ruled that, in fact, Alabama did violate civil rights by and it's pretty obvious. Hello, 27% of the population in Alabama is black, and they have 7 Congress people, and there's only one black. Hello, knock, knock. Anybody home? It's 2023. You don't get away with this stuff anymore. It's not Jim Crow. It's not, the week after the Civil War is over, although sometimes you think when you listen to these people and they're so angry, are we headed in that direction? Certainly not.
Remember once upon a time where racism is very real, prejudice is very real, but you almost didn't know where people stood in certain things until having conversations where now people almost wear it like a very proud flag.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a patriot. Of course I believe that way. The abuse of that word is one of the great tragedies and horrors of modern times. People have taken, as with lots of other words, but in this case, I find it offensive. These people that run around and I'm a patriot because I have a flag in my truck, stuff like that. I'm a patriot because I believe in the Second Amendment. Okay, so maybe you believe in the Second Amendment. That doesn't make you a patriot.
But what about all the other amendments?
Yeah, well, what makes you a patriot is understanding, the idea of having an understanding of what this country really means and stands for, what it has and what it continues to in most people's eyes. I got a kick out of one of the attorneys for Trump declaring that she was ashamed to be a lawyer after the indictment of the former president. The indictment is focusing on, once again, his mishandling of the top secret documents. I think this is a witch hunt myself. I don't think they're going to get anywhere because apparently the law gives the president a year to have access to almost any file he wants. That's part of the transition. So I don't know what they've, but he's supposed to have given them back. I think that's the issue here. But these people will stop at nothing to get Trump. I mean, it makes it easy for him. Nobody's saying, excuse me, that Trump doesn't deserve to be indicted, mostly because of how easy he just is, he's always given the middle finger to anybody and everybody who's like, it's the up yours department from Trump. So anyway, she said, I'm going to try to put it into context, okay? Because oftentimes people take quotes out of context. What she said is, quote, what they do is they say, oh, look at this shiny ball. Look at this shiny ball. Let's go after Trump. Whatever you hear about the Bidens, don't worry about it. Trump, 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 Trump. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. and now it's becoming sick. And then she added, I'm embarrassed to be a lawyer. Honestly, I'm ashamed to be a lawyer. So I was looking at some of the comments posted on our social media after the fact, if you will, after this all has sort of hit the airwaves in the light of day. George Conway. I'm trying to think why I know that name. Anyway, he said he's a lawyer, but I know for some reason, I don't know why. Is he married to Conway, who used to be...
they're divorced now, I believe. But that's who I'm thinking of, too.
Right. Yeah. He says, I, too, am embarrassed that she's a lawyer. Yeah, right. Okay. All right, so there's that. And also with that, I mean, this becomes sort of the subtext to a lot of conversation this week. And as usual, Trump, instead of addressing the issue, he takes off on whomever is in his sights at the moment. I think it was Pence the other day. It's his fault, or it's Joe Biden's fault, or he's great. He's genius at deflecting the attention away from him. He never answers a question really about the status of things like this. He'll attack, for example, he assailed Hillary Clinton and her handling of classified information. So that becomes the issue. Instead of, okay, what's happening? No, she did it too. That's kind of like when children say that, you've been reprimanded because you took candy out of the candy jar. And the daughter says, well, my brother does it all the time. You never go after him. Right? Oh, that's what this is like, child
under the
play.
bus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, throw everybody under the bus. Okay. So is this stuff going to be central to Trump's reelection campaign? And if it is, of course it is, but is it going to help him or is it going to hurt him?
It's going to help him because this is probably going to end just like the first indictment did. And his numbers went up. Yeah, but his numbers went up. And it proves that it is a witch hunt. And this happened while he was a president. People were going after him, trying to figure out any way, shape, or form to get him out of office. Now people are trying to figure out how to keep him out of office because there is a legitimate fear of what happens if Donald Trump is president again. And there should be, because his vernacular is being... He is such a great businessman, and sometimes, you know what, this country does need to be run more like a business.
Sure
and he did a lot of good.
Got to drain the swamp,
He also has
though.
such a vernacular of being a bully that, in a way, kind of made other people follow that format. And now that's not entirely on him because we are all responsible for ourselves. But people should be just as scared if Biden has a second term, too.
Awful, both of them. Interesting, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy, number 4 this week on the People list, is polling at 20 to 30%. In other words, there was I think it was last weekend, 1,590 Democrats, registered Democrats, were polled to see who they favored if the election were today. I think it was 24% or 27, something in the 20s anyway, said they'd vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And this is where, a year and a half away from the election, and already 20-some% are saying, we don't want Biden. We're going to vote for Kennedy. And that thing can build a steam head like you wouldn't believe over the next, especially if he's smart about his points of view. One of the things that people take shots at him for, but one of the things he's proudest of is his independent thinking. He was a big anti-vaxxer during COVID, and there are a lot of people who love that because they would be identified as Republicans, many of them. So this is a smart strategy. No, this is something he's consistent. He's been consistent on this for a long time. It isn't like it just started. But he hasn't been well known until now. But because of his name as much as anything else, people say, okay, is this guy in the Kennedy family? Yep. Robert Kennedy's son. He's 69 years old, married to an actress who was on Larry, what's the name of that show?
Oh, Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? Suburgatory?
I don't know, but you'd know her if you saw her. Anyway, apparently they don't agree on politics, which is healthy. It's good. It's fun. She had shots, I think, and wore a mask and yada, yada, yada. The Larry, what's his face? Who is she was on that. She was his wife on that
Cheryl
show.
Hines. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That was the one I was thinking of. Yep. Anyway, so I was picturing this to go back to Trump for a second, when the call came in that he was being indicted, he was sitting by the swimming pool at his New Jersey golf club. And, of course, he took the opportunity to, it's just that, it's almost like that casual, okay, well, I'm at the golf course now, and I guess I'll take a shot at whomever. So, anyway, there are a lot of special counsels and all of this stuff. It's going to be a circus like it has been, and they're responsible. They're making it this way themselves because they're playing right into Trump's hand. Trump loves this stuff. He thrives on it. And so the more you feed him this stuff, the more he's going to take shots. He's not going to talk about himself. He's not going to talk about the issue as it applies to him. He's going to turn it around. And, the traffic. Have you ever been down to Palm Beach, Jay? Ever driven around Palm Beach?
I do not believe so. No.
All right. So Mar-a-Lago is at the end of Ocean Avenue, and there's a sharp turn. It's on the corner of the main drag, which is on the ocean. So when you drive by it, it's got high fences around it. I mean, you know what it is because there's Secret Service all over the place, and you can't get in. Or you can, if you're going there for lunch, you can get in as long as you have ID and you are, your name's on the list. But in terms of what goes on there, people on the beach, people walking up and down the street, people riding their bikes up and down that street, they'll do anything to try to get a glimpse in there in hopes of seeing Trump. Well, you'll never see him from the road because his apartment and the restaurants and stuff where he spends his time is on the inside of the compound, not on the outside. But it is interesting to see people in their fanaticism. And I witnessed that, frankly, at the Talkers Convention last Friday. Christopher Ruddy, who runs Newsmax, was one of the participants in a panel with Michael Harrison. I'm going to actually talk to him about that in our regular session, Michael's session. There were a lot of highlights to the convention, but Christopher Ruddy talking about how Newsmax developed and what its focus is, and he's located, his offices are not far from Mar-a-Lago, and his relationship with Trump is very strong because of his support for Trump. But the way it comes across, it just doesn't seem like there's an intellectual connection. It's more kind of, I don't want to say thuggery, but it just kind of dems, dats, D's, and does. Do you know what I mean? It's not like there's an intellectual approach. There is an intellectual approach to this.
I would agree, yes.
They don't take it. They take the low road. So anyway, it's interesting because all the evidence does show that Trump has done this, but is he guilty of anything? He's done this, but what's he really guilty of? I think that's very interesting.
And aren't there other former presidents who they have found still have some of the
Yeah, Jimmy Carter had some. Yeah, they've all had them. So this shows you how one-sided the perverted news media is. Not that Trump is an innocent so-and-so, but they go after him because of his attitude, not because of what he's really done. And that's why they're never going to really get him. They have this circus plays right into his run, the next run for presidency. It just plays into it, and they're so dumb, they think, well, we're going to get Trump. No, you're not. You're not going to get him at all. There's another interesting, beside the Washington Post and their grind on it this week, if you read The Atlantic, I find, they're talking about the evidence and the documents, and it's strong. Come on, grow up. They're not going to get anything on him. He's terrific wiggling out of this stuff. All right, 48 after, this is the Talk Radio Review.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
This is the Talk Radio Countdown, our charts for the week of June 5th to the 9th, officially from Talkers Magazine. At number 10 on the story list, Tucker Carlson and his whole business with CNN and Twitter. Number 9, our relationship with China and what's going on in Cuba. Number 8, the war between the Russians and the Ukrainians. Biden and his family all being investigated. Number 7, activism on the part of special interests. It's number 6. The number 5 story this week is how the East Coast is blanketed by that smoke from the Canadian fires. The migrant and immigration problems, number 4. Number 3, infighting in the Republican Party. That's being overplayed, I think, but they love yakking about it because most of the stations are right-wing. That's why it's number 3. Trump being indicted is number 2, and the presidential race is number 1. This week on the Talk Radio Countdown Show.
Make money doing what you love. It can be done. Matter of fact, it has been done. Consider the story of Jack London. He's one of the highest paid writers of all time. Authored The Call of the Wild, recently released as a blockbuster movie starring Harrison Ford. Jack grew up in a rough neighborhood in Oakland, poor, uneducated, and a school dropout. As a child, Jack fell in love with the idea of being a writer. The notion that an uneducated, dirt-poor school dropout from Oakland could someday be a published writer was insanity. You know the rest of the story, though. Jack London became one of the richest writers of all time. Discover Jack's secret that allows anyone of any income or educational level to make money doing what they love. Whatever it is you love more than anything else, let's make that your prosperous living. Go right now to discoveringjack.com. That's discoveringjack.com. His secret is free. Just go to discoveringjack.com. discoveringjack.com.
Steve is a real Prevagen user and paid testimonialist.
Hi, I'm Steve, and I live in Austin, Texas. I work as a personal assistant to the owner of a large manufacturing firm. I've got anywhere from 10 to 50 projects going at any given time. I absolutely have to be sharp. 5 years ago is when I started to notice I started making mistakes. My memory was not nearly as sharp as it had been. I was confiding in my friend about the problems I was having with my memory, and she said, Stephen, you've got to try Prevagen. After a period of time of taking Prevagen, my memory was getting better, and I started to feel a much better sense of well-being. If you're experiencing what I was experiencing, try it. I really believe that it's going to have tremendous effects for you, just like it did for me.
Prevagen. Healthier brain. Better life. Prevagen is available in stores everywhere. Based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired, this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
The People List now from Talkers Magazine like to sprinkle the actual stories and the People List into our various programs about what's going on Talk Radio, so you have the official list. So at number 10 this week, it's Chris Licht, who used to run CNN. Tucker Carlson is at 9. Hunter Biden is in the 8th position. Goofy Gavin Newsom is at 7. Wonderful Ron DeSantis is at 6. Kevin McCarthy is 5. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is at number 4. Mike Pence and Chris Christie tied as candidates for the presidency in the Republican Party, number 3 this week on our People List. Number 2, as you might imagine, it's the back and forth between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Biden's number 1 because he's the president, usually gets a little more airtime. But you have a hard time distinguishing between the two of them because some people think Trump still is president. That's number 2. All right, so that's the People List, according to Talkers Magazine. I'm Doug Steffen.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
WOMI Owensboro and at 1490 WOMI.com.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players. Pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
We were driving to the supermarket, and as we entered the parking lot, a car ran a stop sign and completely T-boned us. When I was first prescribed my prescription pain meds, there was nobody to tell me these have a really high potential for addiction. How could I be addicted? I get these from my doctor.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/RxAwareness.
We're counting down what America's talking about. The Talk Radio Countdown Show continues.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
53 past the hour now on the Talk Radio Review. Jay and I, Jay Kirshner, Doug Steffen, reviewing some of the things that we haven't had time to get to yet this hour. The charts for the week of the first full week of June, courtesy of Talkers Magazine. What else is there to say about Donald Trump? And not the indictment, the second time, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it seems like such a fight against him at this point that even if he's guilty of something, it almost gets pushed to the side because there has been a hunt to get him in one way, shape, or form for so long.
Yep, right. All right, number 4 this week on the countdown is this almost unbelievable show, and that's what it is. In New York City, the skyline has been consumed by the smoke from the wildfires up in Canada. And not any more dramatic, nothing more dramatic. Look at the time-lapse camera, the shots of the haze over the skyline. The footage, which was shot for a couple of hours during midday on Thursday at One World Trade Center and some of the other buildings around there. The buildings just disappear. Jay, they're just gone.
I feel like there should be some, it's New York, so there's film school students. They have to be doing some kind of film guerrilla style because this is free effect.
Yeah, yep. Anyway, so you've heard the same warnings. I don't want to be redundant with the emergency folks saying if you've got COPD or stuff, seniors, young children, people that have poor immune systems,
yes.
You should limit the time that you are out of doors. And so all the vulnerable folks, I guess I am to a point. The business between
the allergies.
Yeah, the allergies and stuff make it more difficult for people to be able to be comfortable in these circumstances.
Yes.
So
even healthy people are struggling severely, and this is the kind of environment that can induce pleurisy in a lot of people, which is very painful.
Yep, tough on your lungs. All right, number 10 this week, the whole fiasco with Tucker Carlson. Fox News says that Carlson violated his contract by starting this new Twitter show. So did he have a contract or didn't he? They fired him. So does a non-compete, unless they pay him off? He had I think he's $22 million a year or something ridiculous like that. So if they pay him off, then he has to live by the contract. But if they fire him, and I think I saw something somewhere, Jay, where they were trying to get him out of having to pay him the rest of his contract because of the Twitter show. Mm-hmm. So is it both ways?
Well, or it could have been in the contract that even if he's fired, he cannot go do it. There is a non-compete clause, even if whether they're paying him off or not. Sometimes that's in contracts. It's a bad contract if that's the case, but it does exist.
His lawyer said that this taking away this new show on Twitter was akin to targeting his right to free speech. Ah, don't you love that? Tucker has a right to speak free. He pretty much had the right to free speech on the television, but he sort of did some, he was foolish. And
it also begs the question of if somebody goes and takes their thoughts to social media, which is it's a free form, it's a free platform.
Yeah.
Is that violating anything? It's not like he went to another network.
No, they don't want him in the networks. So what's he supposed to? And I don't understand. I thought Twitter was just a social media platform where people were back and forth. They have audio and video. Is it like Facebook? Is Twitter like Facebook that way?
To a degree, yes. Yeah, you can do live video. You can do all of the things.
I didn't know that. Speaking of Fox, the anchor John Roberts has had to apologize for a joke that he made about Chris Christie's weight. Hello, it's 2023. You don't know that you don't. Apparently, this guy is not smart enough to know that. He's often confused, by the way, with the leader of the Supreme Court, whose name is also John Roberts, not the same guy at all. Anyway, Roberts had to apologize. He made a comment about Christie's weight while discussing his going into the presidential election. He spoke about the chances against Trump. He compared the two candidates to milkshakes. He said if the Republican Party is two milkshakes, and this one representing almost half the party, because that's what the polling shows, has got one straw in it, and that's Donald Trump's straw. And then he goes on to talk about Chris Christie's straw and how much he likes milk. Come on, grow up.
Let's normalize not talking about people's bodies.
Yeah, right. All right, so there's another in-depth view of some of the items this week on the Talk Radio Review. It's 59 past the hour.
The Talk Radio Countdown.
The Talk Radio Countdown Show is a production of Stefan Multimedia, produced by Bob K. Sound and Recording.
WOMI Owensboro and at 1490 WOMI.com.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
On a routine patrol, and the vehicle flipped and landed on top of me, which left me paralyzed from the waist down.
I'm William Shatner. Show them their sacrifice hasn't been in vain. Go to PVA.org to learn how you can make a difference.
This is WOMI Owensboro, 99.1 FM and 1490 AM. Translator W256CF, a Town Square media station.
Welcome to Shaped by Faith. We shape our bodies and our hearts for God's purposes. My guest today is Hope G. Smith. She is an artist and an owner of Art of Hope. She resides in Wallace, North Carolina. She received her BA in Fine Arts at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Hope's art has evolved from realistic work into what has been described as inspirational, whimsical verse acrylic paintings. They are an expression of her passion for the Lord and inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And they provide a unique way to enhance homes, churches, and places of work with the Word of God. Hope says it best. She says, I give credit to God for all my artistic ability because it is something He does through me. He is the ultimate artist. I hope these pieces inspire others to elevate their thinking, which will lead to the higher life God has intended for all people. Hope not only has a gallery on Main Street in Wallace, North Carolina, but she also enjoys attending events to do live paintings. Her whimsical artwork has shipped all over the country and internationally. Welcome to Shaped by Faith, Hope.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, and we met through a mutual friend. Actually, she has purchased your artwork when she's in your area, and she's one of my fitness students. And so she gave me your card and she said, you need to look her up and she would make a great guest. And I'm like, okay. And so that's exactly why we're here today. I love those divine connections.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would love for our listeners to hear a little bit about your background and where you're located.
I am in Wallace, North Carolina, and I have lived here for, over 20 years. I was raised in Moore County, which isn't far from Wallace, but and went off to school and then moved here after college. I went to UNCG in Greensboro and met my husband here and have been married to him for almost 20 years. And I have 2 children, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. And so this is where I have grown my business. And in January, it will be 20 years that I've had the business as well. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's been that's kind of a little bit of a technical background, I guess.
No, it is. And I love you. You've got a lot of 20s going on there.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think about it until I said it, but
well, have you always
yeah,
been passionate? I mean, obviously you're an artist and you love painting, but have you always been passionate about painting? And when did this begin for you?
Well, as a young child, I definitely always loved to create. And my mother was very creative, still is. And she would encourage it a lot. But it wasn't until high school that I started doing it thinking, I might want to do this the rest of my life. And I had a great high school art program, which I didn't realize it at the time, but it was exceptionally great. Now that I see what high schools are doing now, I didn't realize how great mine was. And I was able to take a lot of courses that helped develop my skills. And then I knew that I really wanted to get into it as a career. But at the time, I thought the only thing you could do as an artist is teach it. And it, nobody's fault, but just the way things were then, it was just kind of like, well, the only thing you can do with that to make a career out of it is teach. So I majored in art education, and I actually, in college, developed my technical side of things, like learning perspective and techniques in art. Just didn't do any of the whimsical stuff till much later. And I feel like there was reason behind that. I think that there's kind of the ABCs to reading. You kind of, sometimes it's helpful to know those techniques before you get into other things. But when I graduated from college, I then became a elementary art teacher, and I did that for 3 years. And it was fun, but it was not what
that wasn't
I had in mind.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't the exact lane, but you were taking steps
right
to get there, obviously.
Yes. And one of the things was that when I started teaching it, I was seeing 500 kids a week, and I was not able to create myself.
Oh.
Now, mind you, art teachers are needed big time, and we need them. We need art in schools, so I'm not downing that whatsoever. It's just I realized that I wasn't able to do what I was setting out to do, which is do a lot of creating myself. And I didn't realize it at the time that I wouldn't be able to create a lot myself. And so when I was 3 years into it, I remember I sat at my desk one day and I was like, what is it going to hurt to kind of just dream a little bit? And what do I really want to do? And, that verse, Habakkuk, write your vision, make it plain, and he will run with it. So I just decided, I'm going to think out of the box here. If nobody ever sees it, it's no big deal. I'll just write it down and dream. And so I wrote down on a sheet of paper, what I really would love to do, which is create myself, maybe do private lesson, that whole thing, what I would be able to survive on money wise. And then I wrote some verses under it. Delight yourself in the Lord. He'll give you the desires of your heart. Some key verses that I wrote on sticky notes, stuck them in my pocket. And I thought, if I get discouraged, I was going to pull that out, read them, trust in the Lord with all your heart, all those verses. And within a year's time, I had Art of Hope, a business. And obviously I had to take steps towards those goals, but it really kind of blows my mind. Whenever, we are meant to be, when I say creative, people most of the time think I mean in my art creative, but yes, there too, but we're meant to be creative beings, as in to make things happen. God made us to envision something and then make it happen. I mean, if you look around you, that's how everything is created. The walls in your home are created that way. I mean, it's, you envision it and then you make it happen. And it's no different in what you want to see in your life. Now you bring Jesus into it, and then you can really, truly do greater things, like he said. And so, anyway, within a year's time, I had Art of Hope, and I had it in the back of my home. I was doing custom framing, doing my own art, and I was doing private lessons. And then I stayed in my studio in the back of my house for 4 years, and then I eventually got a storefront, and I've been in this storefront for almost 16 years. But back to when I started the business, most of my art at that time, I was doing commissions of people's homes or street scenes or things of that nature. And one day, after I had finished a couple commissions, I had paint left on my palette, and I just was sitting there, and I had a sticky note with a verse on it that said, "Show me your ways, teach me your paths, guide me in your truth. You are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all the day long." And I looked at the paint on the palette, and I felt like the Lord was telling me to use that leftover paint and create just from your heart. And I was kind of like, okay, so I just painted. I just went at it, and that was one of my first whimsical pieces were created. And I put that verse in it, the "Show me your ways, teach me your path." That was my very first whimsical piece. And I have thousands of those now. I mean, I have so many pieces that I have created with verses in them. And I do a ton. I've done a ton over the years. And my art has always gone through just little different phases and different color schemes and different, but it's whatever is God is leading me to do at the time. Sometimes you recognize things in it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes, like every year I do a Christmas one. That's one of my favorite ones to do. And I just totally paint that from my heart. I find a verse that really it speaks to me of that year, that season. And the one that I did this year said, God, let's see, what is it? God is light, and in him there is no darkness. And, it's just such a time in our lives where we need light. And, light doesn't ever have a conversation with darkness when it arrives. It's light will win. It always wins out. And so I wanted to kind of focus on that. And of course I revolved it around a Christmas scene, but I sell the most of those than I do any of my prints. So it's really kind of a cool witness tool, I feel like.
Absolutely. Let's take a real quick break, okay? We'll be back with more Shaped by Faith. Everyone stay tuned.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.